motion. All those in favor? Okay, that's approved. Next up, disclosures of pecuniary interest. Councillor Iannoni and Wing.
Thank you. Check 362864 made out to my spouse.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Wing.
Checks 362282 and 362946 related to my husband's employment.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Morocco.
Yes, Your Worship. Check number 362552 made out to my spouse.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Carrio.
Thank you, Your Worship. On report MW 201307, the tree trimming that could affect my property as well.
Okay. Okay. Councillor Pietrangelo.
Thank you, Your Worship. Niagara Catholic District School Board, my employer, has two payments in there. One's a wire transfer and the other is 362558.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other, Councillor Thompson?
Yes, the tree trimming 2013-07. I really don't think I have it. It's going to certainly materially affect me in any way, but just in case, I'll declare a conflict on that.
It better be safe. Yes, Councillor Wing.
I was of the same opinion that it wouldn't affect me, but my husband still has a contract with one of the budding businesses, so I'll declare as well.
Okay, thank you. And I've got two checks, or three checks rather. Number 362157, 362335, and 362835 made out to myself. Okay, seeing no other disclosures, we'll move on to a regular portion of tonight's meeting, starting off with unfinished business. Our first report is TS 2013-17. Yes, Councillor Pietrangelo. Okay, yes, Councillor Iannoni. We have a motion to move the recommendation in regard to the maintenance storage facility, request for tender for the bus facility. That's seconded by Councillor Pietrangelo. Is there any discussion to that motion? We'll call. Yes, Councillor? Well, if you want. We'll call a vote. All those in favor? Okay, hold on. Can you get your hands up again, please? In favor? And opposed? Okay, and we have one opposed. Okay, thank you. Councillor Pietrangelo.
Your Worship, as well. Tonight I do have to leave early. My niece is making her confirmation, asked me to be her sponsor.
Nice.
So I will be leaving early, and I know the last council meeting we dealt with the airport commission, and it was tied 4-all. I'm wondering if we can move it up in the agenda. I don't know if you need a motion to do so.
No, I think we're good to do that. So we'll move that forward, Councillor. Thank you for that.
Question for the clerk on that. Could we have voted it on Senchik? Could we have voted and left this vote here? Or
No, Your Worship, sorry, through Your Worship to Councillor Carrio, no, the Municipal Act doesn't allow electronic or remote voting yet. I mean, clerks.
No, could he have not filled that out and just left it with you?
No.
Until that came up on the agenda?
No.
Of course, we're talking about the appointment to the Niagara Falls appointment to the Airport Commission. Okay, Mr. Clerk, how did we make out with our vote?
The candidate with the most votes is Mr. John Van Tresca with 5. The ballots are available for public scrutiny, so I would suggest that you make a motion approving Mr. Van Tresca as the appointment.
Okay, Councillor Morocco makes the recommendation, the motion, second by Councillor Pietrangelo. Any discussion to the motion? All those in favor? Okay, opposed? Okay, thank you, and congratulations to Mr. Van Tresca. Oh, there we go. Oh, it stopped. Okay, thank you. Moving along, report MW 2013-13, Forestry Policies and Procedures. I'd ask Mr. Holman, our Director of Municipal Works, if he could lead us in this report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, if I could just, can I get you to hold on just 1/2 a second, Mr. Holman? Which is that under? You know what, if we could just jump ahead under the consent agenda. I see that we've got the Carols in the audience, and to save them is, I'm sure, as interested as they are in listening to our council meetings, maybe we can do them a favor, and we'll find the report. Mr. Clerk? Oh, there we go. If I could get everyone to turn to consent agenda RC 2013-05, Downtown Park Naming Request, Rosberg Family Park. Councillor Thompson.
Yes, gives me a great deal of pleasure. No, I think Councillor May is a lot older than I am, but being here for a long period of time and experiencing the Rosberg operation for many years, and having the pleasure to sit on many committees with Don Carroll over the years, it's fitting and appropriate, and it gives me a pleasure to move the report designating the naming of the park as the Rosberg Family Park.
Thank you very much, Councillor. And I've got a second by Councillor Pietrangelo. Is there any discussion of council to this motion? And did, I don't know, Don, Mary Carroll, if you had anything you wanted to say, or if you just want us to...
Do I need permission to speak here?
Well, if you'd like to speak, you can speak. If you'd like to just come to the microphone.
On behalf of the family, I'd just like to extend our thank you for the honor. It's been a long time since 1916, I think. Things have changed downtown, but for the better, we hope.
Yes. Okay, that's great. Thank you very much, Don, Mary Carroll. Appreciate you being here. Okay, then we will, yes, Councillor Maves.
I just want to thank Mr. Carroll as well. Our family came to Niagara Falls in 1927. I think the outfit is just about everybody in our family, all 16 of us. So anyway, congratulations, and thanks very much for the good service over the years.
Yeah, I think everyone's got some great memories there, whether it was the elevator, the bubblegum machine, whatever it was. What's that? The creaky floor, that's right. Yeah, oh yeah, the elevator, that was a big deal. Escalators. Okay, we're going to call the vote. All those in favor? Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you very much. Okay. You can, by all means, please. We encourage anyone that's having sleeping problems to come to council here. We'll help you out. Okay, moving back. Pardon me? Oh, hey, Dad. Okay, moving on. We're going to MW 2013-13, Forestry Policies and Procedures. We're going to ask Mr. Holman, our Director of Municipal Works, to lead us in this report.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor, members of council. It is Earth Week, and it's a good opportunity for us to refresh our memory on the strategic priorities that council set back at the beginning of their term with respect to the city's natural heritage assets, and also to do a little bit of spring cleaning on some of the policies that date back to, I believe, 1969. So this report is going to update 5 existing policies and add an additional policy. I won't go through them in a lot of detail, but I'll take a little bit of time, if you don't mind, just to give a little bit of background. this year's budget, we set aside about $750,000 for our forestry services that we provide to the city, and employ 8 full-time employees equipped to carry out the requirements of the city's tree bylaw. The policies of the city are founded in its official plan, and they provide us with guidance and instructions on how to protect the trees, woodlots, ravines, and wetlands that are all part of the city's infrastructure. But more than words, this council has created a Park in the City Committee, which is an advisory group whose mandate, and I'll read it out to you, is to encourage environmental responsibility, citywide beautification, promote recreational trail and bikeway usage, and civic pride through community action. And I think you'll agree that this group has done an excellent job in providing staff and council with advice and holding us accountable to the vision articulated in the official plan. The report before you tonight, as I mentioned, talks about 5 existing policies and a new one dealing with street sculptures. And just to quickly go through them, the installation removal of public trees is a guideline that helps our staff understand determining which trees need to be removed because they're either dead, diseased, or dangerous, and the policy and the process for asking for some of these trees to be maintained. The second policy deals with maintenance of private trees, and when they become an issue or a risk to public, the city will be following a process under its property standards bylaw. There's additional policy dealing with pest removal and street tree planting in new subdivision developments, which give the plant stock that get put into some of the new lots in the new subdivision. The 5th policy there talks about tree trimming and root tracing and the services that the city provides to property owners when they become problems. I mentioned the last policy on street sculptures is something that's kind of new to the region and to the city. I believe we have one in the city located in Chippewa in front of the Tim Hortons. But there's a policy there that considers the type and quality of construction that is being proposed and the process that allows our arts and culture committee to be involved in the review process. There's 2 other recommendations in the report. One is a housekeeping one to delete a policy which is redundant. It's actually included in policy number 1. And then there's some housekeeping amendments to the tree bylaw that are reflective of the changes in our new organization structure. Before I answer any questions, though, I'd like to kind of give you an overview of our commitment and what we're working on this year to make sure that these policies are strengthened moving forward. All of our capital projects, whether they're road or sewer or water main projects, will be vetted through the Park in the City Committee and asking for their advice as to how we can best balance form and function, particularly when it comes to road widenings and impact on adjacent trees. We set aside some funding in our capital budget for a woodlot assessment project to look at some of the woodlots that have been handed over to the city and to understand what type of species and what type of quality the woodlot is and how we can make it sustainable in the long run. We're also going to be looking at a sewer lateral maintenance policy. Well, what does that have to do with trees? You've probably received a number of calls from some people who are experiencing problems with root infiltration into the sewer laterals, and we hope to be coming back to you next month with a policy that will help us address that ongoing circuitous problem of going out on a regular basis to properties that we already are familiar with and providing routine cleaning on a regular basis. So we'll be back with you to you next month with an incentive program that's similar to a RAP program, but will be very helpful in kind of helping us move forward. Unfortunately, what was not included in this year's budget was funding to complete a street tree inventory, and that's something we're going to continue to ask for in future budgets. You know, following the old adage, you can't manage what you don't measure. It's important that we do have a good understanding of what our street tree assets, where they are, and the condition of them, so that we can make important decisions about how we protect the urban canopy. And then once we have a good idea as to the quality and quantity of our infrastructure, we're going to be looking at developing an urban forest development strategy that will help us take a more proactive view of protecting some of the city's woodlots. Now, I have our operations superintendent, John Morocco, in attendance tonight to help me answer any questions you might have with respect to the policies or any of the future directions.
Thank you, Mr. Holman. Yes, Mr. Councilor Carrio.
Thank you, Your Worship. Question on the fine, page 444, the suggested fines. Is that something that we come up with, or is that something that's provincially mandated? The $50,000 and $100,000 fines, first offense and subsequent offenses. Where do those numbers come from? And who gets that money in case there's a fine levied?
Can we get clarity on that page, Councilor?
Well, it was marked 404 on the last. Yeah, dealing with fines.
Okay.
Yeah, the $50,000 is an amount that's included in our property standards file, established by that file, so I have to defer to the clerk to answer.
I assume those fines are the fines that are reflected in the bylaw that was vetted at the time. Usually with provincial offenses, the money is received on a per capita basis, so even though the fines may emanate in Niagara Falls, we actually only get 40% of that, which is approximately what our population is throughout the region.
Does that answer your question, Councilor? Are there any other questions for Mr. Holman? He's looking for a motion. There's a recommendation, 3 parts to it. One is that we approve the following forestry policies. 2, that we discontinue the current policy. And then thirdly, that there be some minor amendments to the municipal property tree bylaw. That's described in the report. Yes, Councilor Morocco. Okay, moved by Councilor Morocco, seconded by Councilor Carrio. And if there is no discussion, we'll call the vote. All those in favor? Okay, and that's approved unanimously. Thank you very much. Okay. All right, it was brought to my attention that on the consent agenda, we have a tree situation along Portage Road, and well, we've got Mr. Morocco here in the audience. In case we had any questions, if we could maybe just jump ahead to MW 2013-07. That's the 4th item on the consent agenda. And in your package, you'll see a report on trimming back more than what we usually do, the embankment along Portage Road. So maybe, yes, Councillor Iannone? Okay, so we have a motion by Councillor Iannone to approve the report, the recommendation. Looking for a second on that? Not yet. Do we need? Okay, we have a conflict by. Well, actually, so we do have a number of conflicts. Councillor Thompson, you declared a conflict, or even though you're not sure it is one, right? Okay, we've got a second by Councillor Maves that we move the report. So we'll call the vote. All those, yes, Councillor Peter Angelo.
Your Worship, Mr. Morocco was kind enough to come to the Park and the City Committee last week, and he presented to the Park and the City Committee the options before staff. Staff were requested to go down the embankment and clear all the trees, I believe 25 to 30 feet down the embankment. He talked to the Park and the City Committee about what they felt would be fair. Now, I don't know that the city really has a choice of whether or not they want to cut at least 10 feet. And perhaps if I can start off with that as a clarification. reconstruction of Portage Road earlier this year, there are branches that come right out into the walkway. The walkway isn't the best in itself. We really should be moving forward with some type of landscape master plan for that whole area to identify a pathway, because the pathway that's on Portage Road right now is not adequate. But I'll start with the question of, is the city obligated to, at bare minimum, cut 10 feet of, I guess, trees from the road allowance down the embankment for maintenance purposes? Because I do understand as well that the city has a couple lawsuits against it.
Would you want to defer that to Mr. Morocco then? Mr. Morocco, if you wouldn't mind coming up to the mic and being our resident expert on treeology, you can help us out.
Through your worship. Traditionally, the work that has been done along this stretch has been roughly in a 10-foot area, simply because of the ice loading that we receive in that particular area. I want to make sure that we understand we're not removing trees. What we're taking out is woody plant. We're taking out some sumac and some buckthorn, which is invasive species. So I think our purpose here is more so to make sure that perception matches the reality of what we're actually doing there. So no, we're not doing full-scale large removal. No, there will not be large native species of trees cut down. Our mandate is protect, promote, and enhance. So by no means are we going there to do anything that will do damage to the ecosystem here. So we just want to make sure that everyone was comfortable and everyone was brought up to speed on exactly what we're doing there, because we don't want perception to outmatch the reality of what's going on there. So it'll be very simple work. The scope is very limited to match the actual objective, and we're just looking for some direction. I know Park in the City gave some directions in particular to the expansion of the work going down the slope. Their goal was to see invasive species only. That's our goal as well. And we believe we can achieve pretty much all of this with a very limited scope of work. So, but we want to make sure that everybody's on the same page here.
Is there any planting that gets involved too, or is this just a cleanup exercise?
No, it's just a cleanup. This is where the master plan comes into us, and this is why the scope of work is very limited. Because without a master plan for us to replant in there, we're certainly not inclined to take out a whole lot of stuff. So it's going to be a very limited scope of work with a very defined objective, and not a long duration of working in that particular area. Councillor Pietrangelo is absolutely correct. The walkway is not the best. It was brought to us by risk management this year with 4 goals to achieve. 2 of the goals have been achieved. We've done some work on the guide rail system. We've added additional signage. We're now going to have to do some limited asphalt work in there, and we have to do some clearing in there because it's not meeting sight lines. So we just know that this is a sensitive area, and we want to make sure council was fully abreast of what we're doing.
Does that answer your questions, Councillor?
Yeah, Your Worship, and I really appreciate Mr. Morocco being here and basically reiterating what he told us at the Park and the City Committee. I just wanted to ensure that it was invasive species only that were being removed, and that any of the native trees were staying. And I do agree that there is an obligation on the city to go in there and maintain and trim the trees back, because if you do go walk on the path, you'll find that the branches do come right out onto the pathway, and it is a hazard.
Okay. Yes, Councillor Thompson.
I'm just talking about looking up from the Parks Commission, and I'm just in front of the Marriott in that particular area there, because I would have a conflict on the other end. In my opinion, there should be a total master plan for this area. If you look from the Parks Commission at this time of year, and all through the winter months when the leaves are gone, what a disaster for what's supposed to be a park. The trees are all falling down, they're on top of each other, they've never been touched for years. The vines, the mess, and that's supposed to be, and I'm talking about the Niagara Parks Commission, but we should be working with the Parks Commission and the city to provide a master plan for that whole area that beautifies it and makes it the park that it should be. The way it is now, it is disgusting. If you go and you look from the hotels, you see the plastic bags hanging from the trees, blowing should really be looked after, and a master plan to come back so that we have something special there that's appropriate for what is in front of us.
Yep, great idea. Yep, Councillor Pietrangelo.
Your Worship, I can't agree more, and I did as well mention the master plan right at the top. In my opinion, the pathway right now is on the east side of Portage Road. It should not be on the east side of Portage Road. It's not even an adequate pathway. I think the only reason that it's there is because the steel embankment was up, and we continue to get pedestrians walk on the east side of the steel embankment. And then, of course, we started to get lawsuits because people were getting hurt. And what we ended up doing was we ended up putting a fence there, and it's kind of a makeshift sidewalk. So I can't agree more with the landscape master plan. In my opinion, the walkway should not be on the east side; it needs to be on the west side. If council wants to delay the increased scope of work, because I do believe that we still have to cut the trees back a little bit and move forward with a master plan, I'll be more than happy to do so. Be more than happy to do so.
Well, why don't we deal further? We've got the recommendation here on the floor. Then maybe if we want to give some direction to staff, we can do that on a master plan. So we've got the motion, the recommendation to extend the tree trimming and shrub removal as outlined in the report. Moved by Councillor Morocco and seconded by Councillor Maves. All those in favor? Okay, and opposed? Okay, so that's unanimous with some conflicts. And for those that could vote, yeah. And then Councillor Pietrangelo, yes.
Your Worship, I would like to see staff come back with a report on landscape master plan for that area that incorporates, I guess, the pathway that's on Portage Road and how to effectively make it safe for the people that travel that way.
Okay.
Try to coordinate that with the Parks Commission.
Yeah, coordinating with the Parks Commission. Okay. Councillor Gates?
No, I just second.
Oh, you're going to second that. Okay. Any other discussion to that motion? Okay. All those in favor? Okay. Opposed? Almost caught you on that one, like Simon says. Okay, that's great. Thank you very much. Okay, we will go back then to where we were in the agenda. Thank you, Councillor Pietrangelo. To the athletic field allocation policy, RC 2013-08. And this one, we'll ask Ms. Moldenhauer, Director of Parks, or Rec and Culture, to help us with this one, please.
Thank you. The athletic field allocation policy is a new policy the staff have prepared this year. The policy was put in place to formalize our current procedures. So when developing this policy, staff did work very closely with our athletic field user groups. We had emailed a draft copy of the policy to our user groups in November of last year. The policy at this time was also shared with the Recreation Committee at their November meeting. And as a follow-up, some of our user groups had more concerns than others about the policy, and staff did meet with them individually just to discuss their recommendations for the policy. The policy was then revised for a second time, emailed back out to our user groups. The policy was presented at our annual field allocation meeting that took place in March. We asked for additional comments. None were received, and now we're putting forward the final version of the policy for you tonight. The athletic field allocation policy is very similar to other policies that we have developed. The document establishes and clarifies the city's responsibilities. And with this policy, we're only looking, of course, at city-owned and maintained athletic fields. It, of course, is not applicable to any of the school board properties that we do use throughout the summer months. So the city, of course, we're responsible for managing the playing fields, park operations. We're always looking at new revenue opportunities, and we are trying to work closely with the hospitality sector, and this is where, of course, we're actively promoting our sports tourism policy and looking for new events. The heart of any allocation policy is to promote fairness, equity, and accessibility. And what's very important about any allocation policy is the processing of tournaments and special events, because we, of course, want to encourage them and to promote excellence in customer service. And bottom of any policy with our athletic fields, of course, is to promote healthy living and access to our city facilities. The 2007 Parks, Recreation, and Culture Strategic Plan, one of the action plans was to develop policies to support service delivery. And with this, a recommendation was put forward to look at a general facility allocation policy focusing on parks and athletic fields. Policies that have been approved by council in the past were the ice allocation policy that came forward in 2010, and the artificial turf allocation policy did come forward in 2011. Just to kind of highlight some of the areas in the policy is I have mentioned the athletic field responsibilities to the City of Niagara Falls. Our rates and fees, as you are aware, we do review annually, working very closely with our user groups. Staff recommend to City Council for approval. The allocation policy does get into general administration forms that groups are required to complete, insurance, all user groups, and any pickup permits must provide insurance. We also remind our groups about our R-zone policy, respect and responsibility for yourself and others. The athletic field allocation policy and the distribution, we do of course look back on what our groups have used the year before. But we also do focus on actual registration numbers. So if one organization has significantly increased and that they can prove this increase in their registration numbers, we will allocate additional diamonds or fields. And opposite, of course, if they have decreased their numbers, then they will not be allocated the same amount of fields. In this document, we have defined our athletic field season. Weather permitting, of course, we do open up our fields mid-May to September 30th. Last year, I know our groups were looking to get into our playing fields earlier because we had a great spring. This spring, we're probably looking at opening mid-May around the long May weekend. This slide here, the athletic field allocation, our user priority. This is very important to our user groups. We did get a lot of comments from them. Similar to our ice allocation policy, our first priority is local, youth, community-based, and non-profit sport organizations. We have added to this slide that 75% of the group, 12 years and under, must be local residents. The reason we put in here 12 years of age is we did talk to the groups that perhaps putting this for 18 years and under, but there's a lot of decline in kind of at 13 to 18, and they did inform us that you do sometimes have to go outside of Niagara Falls to recruit people for your teams, but focusing on the younger group, we really wanted to state that 75% of the age group must be local. The next priority is local adult, community-based nonprofit. Third, local commercial, again focusing first on local rather than out of town. Fourth priority, non-resident youth, community-based. And then fifth, non-resident adult, commercial, and any other requests. The policy, again, being a new policy, was updated from our athletic field rules and regulations, and it was an older document that actually stated that our athletic fields were only to be used 6 out of 7 days a week, and Sunday they were to be closed. So of course our society has changed, and we now actually operate our athletic fields 7 days a week from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m., of course, where we have lighting. The next section, the tournaments and special events. This section was a really important section for our user groups because we did not have in writing the procedures to follow when allocating our fields for tournaments. So with this, again, following the same priorities, the groups wanted to keep priorities same for tournaments. They appreciated having timelines in place for releasing fields not being used for tournaments. Because what would happen in the past, for example, with a soccer tournament, is the group would inform staff that they needed to use all of the soccer fields, and this would bump out any house leave. So now with having a limit, a deadline for them to release the fields, that opens up the opportunity that we can keep some of the house league play going on as well. And it's important to know that with this section, we did get the majority of the content from the groups because it was so important to them to do the tournament allocations based on their priorities. The cancellation policy, we had actually developed this in the past, but we've incorporated it into our athletic fields allocation policy. They do have to give us 10 calendar days of notice to cancel. If it's under that, there is a $20 cancellation fee. For the tournaments, it's actually 15 calendar days in advance. And again, if under, then they have to pay the $20 cancellation fee. If we do open up the athletic fields outside standard hours, for example, on a holiday Monday, the applicant in the group is responsible to pay the staff costs. Very important this time of year, if a field is officially closed and a group goes on the field, they could actually forfeit the right to play on one of our city fields for the remainder of the season. Because when they're closed, we have them closed for a reason. And it's normally to protect them so that we can retain them to our high standards. A group can also not sublease a field without permission. We have to know who's playing on that field to ensure that we do have the proper insurance. And of course, they cannot play in the permit. And that is a summary of the athletic field allocation policy and procedures that we followed. The groups, as I mentioned, do support this. The Recreation Committee, of course, they also do support the policy. And I'm here to answer any questions that you may have about the policy.
Thank you very much, Ms. Moldenhauer. We have Councilor Bronco and then Councilor Thompson.
Yes, Your Worship. Thank you very much, Ms. Moldenhauer. This is a very well-needed report. Just a question, though, in regards to the allocation of and prioritizing of who gets the fair time on different playing fields. My concern is that I'm thrilled that our residents do take precedence, but we do have some tournaments that come in and have been here for years, slow pitch, Ontario, credentials, and that. Are we still giving them some type of priority as well to make sure that they're still given that playing time, and that they're not going to get bumped up because that is a revenue base?
Yes. As mentioned under the tournament section, we always do look back to who had that diamond the year before.
So it's pretty much a first
historical for them. So because they have booked it for many years, they do have the right to those diamonds. Where would come into play if we had a brand new group coming in? And then we would sit down with all of our user groups and we'd be happy to discuss that tournament request.
Good. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor Thompson.
I just moved the report and congratulate the staff on the way this has been conducted. They went back to user groups twice, eliminated all the problems and concerns, and that's why you see Mr. and Mrs. Carroll sitting in the audience alone tonight, rather than 50 people of user groups who hadn't been given the opportunity. So it's been handled expertly, and congratulations. And I move the report.
Well done. Moved by Councilor Thompson. Councilor Mapes.
Yeah, I'd like to second the motion, and also I'd like to ask a question to Ms. Moldenhauer. On the hours of operation, it says that they end at 11 at night. And I know at various times some games have been to extra innings, or you might have a rain delay for something, or some overtime, in, say in soccer or something. Is there any leeway for that, or this throw everybody out, or how do we handle that?
No, we are flexible. Those are the standard hours of operation.
So there, in case it does
end result. So I want to compliment staff on a job well done.
Thank you.
We've made a good choice with our Director of Recreation and Culture, it appears. We'll call the vote. All those in favor? He's a funny guy. Yes, it's unanimous. Thank you very much. Okay, we do have some planning matters, but we cannot deal with them until 7:30. That's as per the agenda and as per notification. We'll have the clerk, maybe he'd like to comment on that, and then we'll get to the rest of the agenda.
Yeah, one of the items that's been identified as a public meeting, the first one, that draft plan condominium, actually isn't a planning item or a planning meeting. There wasn't notification given, so that can be dealt with as a separate report or with the rest of the consent agenda. So technically, we only have 2 public meetings for 7:30. The proposed winery there, vineyard at Mount Carmel, and the 4-unit apartment building.
So what are we looking for the first one, Mr. Clerk, then? We've got a recommendation, but there...
You can deal with that report separately, or you can just tack it onto the consent agenda. That's where we should have probably listed it.
Okay, well, why don't we go chronologically here? We've got PBD 2013-33, which is draft plan of condominium for Portage Road. Okay, move the recommendation by Councillor Carrio, seconded by Councillor Thompson. Is there any discussion to the recommendation? We'll call the vote. All those in favor? Okay, and that's unanimous. Thank you very much, Mr. Carrio. Then moving along, we will jump ahead to, well, you know, we might as well do the mayor's report, because I know this is, we've got the, we've got our guests in the audience, the Carrolls, and I'm sure they would love to hear this part, because I know it's Councillor Thompson's favorite part. So welcome, and lucky you. We'll start off first with the obituaries. Our condolences go out to Gord Council, a past member of Niagara Falls Transit Commission and a longtime photographer for the Niagara Falls Review, on his passing. Things that have happened. I had to bring greetings recently on the Ontario District Barbershop competition at the Scotiabank Centre. And after I did, I was getting a picture taken with one of the quartets, and they said, why don't you sing a little song with us? And I said, oh no, that's not a good idea at all. And they said, come on, they wouldn't accept no. So we did sing this little bit. And I think their kids were videotaping. So if you see something on YouTube, I apologize, okay? Because I can't sing very good. But it was kind of neat. I was in a barbershop without being in a barbershop. So also, MPP Crater and myself went to a Sikh celebration called Baisakhi, which was a very neat event at their temple. This past Friday was the Regional Chair's State of the Region Address, which was held in Niagara Falls at the Fallsview Casino. Earth Day, we celebrated that yesterday, and the ceremony was to recognize a 200-year-old red oak tree on Corwin Avenue. Councillor Peter Angelo was there to assist with the festivities. Last Friday, we had the 10th Annual Bishop's Gala put on by the Niagara Catholic District School Board in honor of Bishop Burgee. Amanda Lang was in town yesterday morning. She is from the Lang and O'Leary Report on CBC. She also wrote a book recently called The Power of Why. Did a great presentation at White Oaks for the Women in Leadership Conference, and was an excellent, if you ever get a chance to listen to her, she's an excellent speaker. 2 hours, though, one one ah, and really powerful delivery. The Mayor's Youth Advisory had a night to end the stigma, and they had Tommy Frew there, one of the top NHL prospects a number of years ago, who right now they're calling the NHL's oldest rookie, and he's looking to break the lineup this coming year at 39 years of age. And he was there talking about mental health, and it was an absolutely incredible story. You want to listen to the Tommy Frew story. I mean, they're talking about this being a possible Hollywood movie when he cracks the lineup this fall, and he certainly sounds like he's ready to crack the lineup, including teams like the Toronto Maple Leafs are calling on him. Great comedy show for anyone that was able to get out to the Scotiabank Centre on Saturday. Godfrey played, not to be confused with Gilbert Godfrey. This is just Godfrey. This is a comedian out of New York City, and he's part of the LOL series, which is once a month at the Convention Center. And it was probably a little less than half full, but what an outstanding performance. This guy apparently was contracted to do 1 hour and 15 minutes, and he went 2 solid hours. And I mean, this was knee slapping, my stomach, my jaw my shoulder from my wife hitting her head on my shoulder, laughing so hard. It was literally quite funny. If you ever get a chance to see this guy, Godfrey, their next show is going to be coming up in May, and they're going to have Charles Murphy, who is Eddie Murphy's brother. He's their next performer, and they've got a whole series of comedians. No, he's not related, but good question. Thanks for that, Councilor Thompson. But if you get a chance to tune into this comedy series, it's hilarious. We had Snow Buddy Volunteer Appreciation last night at the McBain Center. We had all of our volunteers there as we gave them pizza and awards, and I'll tell you, what a great group of kids. And some of them are adults that are helping for the seniors that can't get out of their houses to get their medicine or get to doctor's appointments or get to the bus to do the shoveling for these people. Just what a great thing. Snow Buddies. So anyone that has any kids that are looking to do some volunteer work, get their volunteer hours, sign up for the Snow Buddy program. You just have to go on a city's website. As a matter of fact, Sean Oatley, our IS guy, did an outstanding job where you can just fill out the application right online at the city's website. Councillor Pietrangelo hosted the President of Macedonia this past Saturday, George Ivanov, and he said it was quite an experience. He was able to do that for me. I had other obligations. He brought his kids with him, and he really got a charge out of meeting. Not every day you have a president of a country in town. Habitat for Humanity, wood signing ceremony, and we thank Councillor Morocco for representing the city as they signed the 2x4s inside the structure of the house before everything was covered up with drywall. So I'm sure you left an inspirational message, Councillor, on behalf of all of us. Okay, excellent. Excellent. This Thursday is the ever-popular Super Sat night at Club Italia. I'm sure there'll be a lot of councillors we'll see there, as it's always a big, a very popular event. Arbor Day tree planting will take place at John Allen Park this Friday at 10 a.m. We'll be planting 20 native trees, along with students in the Park and the City Committee. The Coronation Center Annual Volunteer Recognition event will take place this Friday at the Coronation Center as we recognize all seniors in our community. The Caverners will be performing a Beatles Revolution this Saturday at the Greg Fruin Theater. National Pay It Forward Day is going to be next Monday, the 29th, where we're going to do something for somebody without anything expected in return, and just pay the favor forward. Community Clean Sweep will take place next Saturday, May the 4th, from 9 a.m. till noon at Michelangelo's. We'll all meet there at 9 a.m. and we'll clean up the city. The Ride of Silence takes place this Wednesday, May 15th, 7 p.m. at the McBain Community Center. It's a 10K ride in honor of cyclists that have been injured or killed by motorists. The last two announcements here. The Niagara Food and Wine Expo takes place this weekend at the Scotiabank Convention Center. It'll be all weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. If you want tickets or information, go to niagarafoodandwineexpo.ca for information, or call the Scotiabank Convention Center. And lastly, City Rain Barrel Sale is going to be held this Saturday, April the 27th, at the Service Center on Stanley Avenue from 8 a.m. until 2:30 p.m., where for $30 you can get yourself a rain barrel. These are worth close to $100. It's a great way to conserve water. You can get up to a maximum of 2 rain barrels per household, and you can call City Hall to reserve a rain barrel, or you can visit the city's website at niagarafalls.ca. And that includes the highlight of tonight's meeting, Carol. So I hope you enjoyed that. Half as much as Councillor Thompson. Yes, Councillor. Yes, you know what? Could you please elaborate on that one? Councillor Thompson was kind enough to represent us for a hockey event. This was the Bantam event at Don Cherry's, and he did a great job. So good they've asked if he could come back again next year. So thank you very. Pardon me? How old were the participants, Councillor? Bantam age. 14. Yeah, we had a tournament with the 5 top teams in the province. We made it to the finals and lost in the finals, but put up a real valiant effort as we hosted the championships in Niagara Falls. So appreciate. Yeah, I understand it was very good, and I helped to drop the puck at the opening of it. It was a good event, and congratulations for all those that brought the event to Niagara Falls. All right, well, seeing no other mayor's announcements, we'll move on to the rest of the agenda. Unfortunately, there's all I have. We'll move on to communications and comments of the city clerk. First item we've already dealt with, the Niagara District Airport Commission. Item number 2, St. Paul High School requesting an extension of the noise bylaw. Moved by Councilor Iononi. Thank you, Carols. Seconded by Councilor Morocco. Is there any discussion to that motion? You can come back in 2 weeks, folks. It'd be great to have you back. There'll be more interesting information. Okay, it'll be in 3 weeks. 3 weeks. Thank you for that. Bring your friends. Okay, we've got a motion and second for the St. Paul High School extension of the noise bylaw. Any discussion to that motion? None. We'll call the vote. All those in favor? Okay, and that's approved unanimously. Item 3, requesting May 5th through 8th be proclaimed as Drinking Water Week. Moved by Councillor Iononi, second by Councillor Thompson. All those in favor? Okay, and that's approved unanimously. Mr. Clerk, are there any additional items?
Nope.
Are you sure? All right, we're running out of agenda items here. We're going to have to take a break.
The consent agenda?
Okay. You want to do it all at once? Because we have an hour to kill here. Are you sure you don't? All right, we've got a motion by Councillor Iononi to move the consent agenda. Councillor Maves?
I just have one question regarding the TS 2013.
You can ask as many questions as you want, Councillor.
Regarding the WeGo smart card, I just wondering, are we matching up with the region buses on the smart cards? Are they using the same thing?
Great.
We're going to get on the same page with that?
Excellent question, Councillor Maves. We'll get our Director of Transportation, Mr. Dren. Could you please slowly answer that question?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The region currently, right now, doesn't have smart card technology in their buses.
They have something on the region system, don't they? Or is it do we have it on the school system? Or?
No, they don't have anything at this point. They're undertaking a review to add something.
So they have the passes now, but they don't have the smart card. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Well, that's all I need to know. So, I guess when I go to the next meeting, I should encourage them to use the smart card that would match up with ours?
Yes, but there's a technology issue. Not all, the 3 agencies, St. Catharines, Welland, and us, we have smart cards. St. Catharines has swipe cards or magnetic stripe cards, and Welland doesn't have anything like that. They're all paper. So the challenge is it's supposed to be transferability between the various operators, ourselves, Welland and St. Catharines, and even though if they have a smart card, there's no way of verifying that it's for that month. The only way you could do it was with our system and St. Catherine's system, but Welland doesn't have one.
Okay. Well, I have the floor too. I'd like to ask as well.
Please do.
The region are doing a study, as you know, you're probably aware of it. And of course, I've asked the region at the Transportation Steering Committee meetings regarding, they're going to try and, they would like to take over all the municipal transportation on buses. And I think the big problem we have, of course, would be the fact that we have our own WeGo system here. We're dealing with the Parks Commission. We have our own system here. And I would like to see them keep that separate if they're going to do it. They're going to do a study on that. And perhaps Mr. Dren can elaborate on some of that for us as well.
Yes, with regards to the study, the WeGo system is not in their terms of reference, so I've asked them to pull it out, that it's not part of this study. It's a separate system, and so they're going to maintain that.
Well, I've also put the wheels in motion too with them, that we have a beautiful new facility, so if they ever go that way, maybe we're going to need a giant facility down the road, who knows?
Any other questions on that? Did you want to second then the consent agenda, Councillor? Okay. Yes, Councillor Thompson.
Maybe we could ask the clerk to give us a full explanation of the Niagara Tunnel Project piezometer well easement agreement.
I was just going to ask that as well.
I'll have to defer to Mr. Holman on, he's the expert on piezometers.
Sure, I think that we're dying to know about it. But you've got an hour.
This is just an easement agreement. It's a standard wording for access to this 2 meter by 2 meter box. It's located on the former rail lands, and it's right above the tunnel, the new tunnel that's been constructed. And OPG will be using it on occasion to measure the flow and velocity of flow inside the tunnel. Yes, it's about a 12-foot diameter pipe that goes straight in.
All right, are there any other questions on the consent agenda? All right, then we will call the vote. All those in favor of moving the consent agenda? All right, that's unanimous. Thank you. Moving right along. Okay, we've got a motion by Councillor Thompson to move the resolutions, seconded by Councillor Iannoni. We'll call the vote. All those in favor? Okay, that is unanimous as well. We've got in-camera matters, Mr. Clerk, nothing to ratify from in-camera. Okay, and property bylaws. We do have first bylaw, and we'll see, is there anybody in the audience for 2013-64, a bylaw to temporarily remove the public right of passage over a highway. Okay, you never know, could be. Or someone asleep in the back, not that you could sleep through this exciting dialogue. No, I need a little bit of direction from our clerk. Now, do we move this at this point or together with the rest?
No, you can do that later. This item was advertised for 5 o'clock, so if anybody in the public had an interest, they should have been here by now. Obviously, there's no concern about that temporary removal of the public right of passage, so that when we deal with the bylaws after the planning items, we can approve it at that time.
Okay, if I understand correctly, the only thing left is new business. Is that all that we've got at this point? So if anyone has any new business, this would be the time that we bring it up and deal with it. We have 55 minutes until we can get to the planning portion of our meeting. Oh, yeah, because they're coming. We've advertised. Do we have any new business? Councillor Thompson, you're always good for a couple.
Yes. I'm in constant touch with Mr. Don Johnson, who's a great community individual, and has a park which is adjacent to his property, and always concerned about that. There apparently are some drainage issues that are existing there, and I'm wondering if we could ask the staff to meet with Mr. Johnson as soon as possible to look after some of these drainage problems and issues before the season starts. And I would so move.
Okay, moved by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Iannoni. We ask staff to have a peek at the drainage issues at Don Johnson Park. Okay, we'll call the vote. All those in favor? Okay, that was easy.
Yep. The other thing is, we just received in our package Niagara Regional Council report. Excellent information for municipal councilors. How did this come about?
Well,
We've never had this before?
No, because I got a hold of the document that some of the regional councils were using for the city councils, and then they would go present them. And I thought, so we got a copy of it, and we, through our office, the girls, I had to put it in your packages. So you know everything that's happening at the region. Instead of wondering or reading about it, you've got a full report of all activity.
Yep. Anyway, excellent, and as you can see, the appeal of the Pingu property that we were dealing with, that they were appealing, has been withdrawn. I was at the meeting and made some comments simply because it's been around for the last 15 years, approved, and why it was ever appealed, I'll never know, but anyway, it was looked after. Also, I see that they're talking about the Mid-Peninsula Corridor again.
Yeah.
Don't tell me. I always like to deal with things that are going to happen in my lifetime, and I didn't think it was going to happen again. But here we go all over again. They own both sides of the Queen E for 2 additional lanes. They seem to be concerned about the salt on the highway with the fruit trees. There's not always fruit trees along the highway that are affected. We are on record for the last 15 years, I think, of being opposed. They have no idea of the environmental effects of taking a highway across all of the wetlands and the creeks and the farmlands and everything. It will be horrendous. So I hope that when this is discussed, our resolutions over the past years are taken into consideration, and that we don't go along with putting in an environmental disaster. And not only that, taking all the people from Hamilton, Grimsby, and running them over the Peace Bridge as quickly as possible. That, in my opinion, doesn't have a great deal of benefit for the Niagara region, and particularly Niagara on the Lake and Niagara Falls. So we'll keep an eye on that, but this is excellent. I like it.
Yeah, thank you for that, Councillor. Appreciate that. And yeah, being consistent with our council's position, I vote continuously and regularly opposing the Mid-Peninsula Corridor. You know, much to the chagrin of some of the Niagara South politicians. My feeling, and it always has been, the first priority should be the GO train. Bring full-time, regular GO train community service right to Niagara Falls. You can do it for a lot less money. You can do it a lot quicker, and it'll have a much bigger and meaningful impact on the Niagara region. Yes?
And also, we are servicing that area by the extension of the 406 and tying everything into Highway 3 and the rest of it up there. So we're not neglecting that area whatsoever. In fact, for the services that they need up there, they're going to end up with excellent highway service. So to service whatever they get, you know, if Wayne Fleet gets electricity and things up there, things are really going to be great.
Well, great. I'm going to be vacationing there in July. I can't wait. I'll get a warm reception when I arrive.
But I think it's being serviced with the new development of highways up there. They don't need it's not going to affect them anyway. It's going over to Fort Erie.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And the other thing is, when you look at the 407, it took 30 years to acquire the land and build that. Like you say, something within our lifetime. And GO Train, they could make that happen almost overnight. So, and you look at the impact, you look at the Golden Horseshoe, the growth, you go to Oakville and Burlington, and that's where it stops. It's obvious the impact that that has, and that's the quickest, simplest way. Good for the environment and good for the economy. Yeah, Councillor Gates.
Just on Councillor Thompson's point, I did talk to Mr. Johnson today, and I talked to Mr. Dren on, they got some issues over at Spring Street around baseball as well, with the parking, and I'd like to thank Carl for committing to call him tomorrow on that issue as well. And on the Mid-Peninsula Corridor, I think it's nice that our council has been opposed to this long before I even got on council, quite frankly. But it would also be helpful if our regional councillors from Niagara Falls were singing from the same tune. So that might be something that we might want to have some a meeting with them, Mayor Diodati, because it's so important for it not to happen to tourism in Niagara Falls. And it'd be nice if they were speaking out against it like this council was. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, that's key. I agree. I agree with that. Though I was just notified I received an email from someone at home saying they're having a hard time hearing us. Something's wrong with our audio here, so I'm not sure if that's what the humming was earlier, but hopefully if whoever's in the control booth is listening to this, they can come in here and fix the audio, because it's not working. Is there any other new business? Yeah, Councillor Carrio and then Morocco. Oh, good. Oh, okay, Councillor Morocco. oh, that'll get you brownie points.
Well, thank you very much for being such a gentleman. You might regret that one day. But just I've had some conversation with some residents, and I know that the staff is aware of this. The railroad crossing on Garner Road going into Hendershot Street in that new subdivision. Oh my word! I did go over it, and I think I bottomed out. Like, it is just horrendous. Is there any way that can actually get fixed? There's a number of homes back in there now. It's by the Red Path, that railroad track. So if we can actually maybe have some idea that we can tell the residents there that there's going to be some repair to that railway crossing.
Maybe we get a comment. I don't know if there's any comment, Sean, or we'll just look into it. I don't know if you're aware.
We'll check into the status of when they are planning to go in and fix that up.
You'll drive over it on the way home to check it out. Yeah,
Thank
fast.
You. And just one other thing, it was brought to my attention, I did bring this up with senior staff on Wednesday's meeting, that Bucator Park in Chippewa there, along where you go down to the Humane Society, it's quite a, I guess I'd say, disgrace in a way to have a past mayor name after a park that's actually used for a dumping facility. And it seems that we're constantly in there trying to clean up people's garbage that they're dropping. And one of the recommendations, I was wondering if it's possible that maybe staff could maybe even just give me the information, is if we could actually look at the new subdivision that's being built in Chippewa, back behind Betty's, actually back behind my residence there on Lions Creek Parkway, that the park there maybe be named Bucator Park. I think it's a little bit better of an area, and then maybe see if we can actually look at closing off that land or that park area and giving it back to the hydro land or whatever, to let them maintain and take care of the people dumping the garbage. Is there any possibility of that?
Okay, maybe we get some feedback on that, Mr. Holman?
Yes, we have been following up on a number of dumping complaints, illegal dumping and abuse of that park by ATVs and motorized vehicles, and we really need to come up with a different strategy to try and protect those wetlands and that what I think is valuable frontage or access to the water. So perhaps it would be better to come back with a comprehensive report. Councillors' request for renaming the park is something that probably would we want to run that by I don't know, Recreation Committee or Park and the City Committee for their advice.
Is that a motion I'd need?
Yeah, Councillor, did you want to jump in on this one?
Yeah, actually, I was around at the time, and that area was chosen by a group of his friends and citizens because of his love for fishing and the water, and they thought it was appropriate to be right as part of the Welland River, and that's why it was chosen. So I think our problem is we got to make sure that there are proper cleanups and maintenance and make it, if it doesn't look good, then people are going to dump there. So I think what we have to do is really concentrate on making that the wonderful riverside park that it should be, because it's an excellent spot, and that's why it was chosen.
Yeah, the feedback?
That's fine, we'll bring a report back then. Get a motion.
Okay, so why don't we bring that motion forward then, Councillor Morocco? So.
Sure, that's great. I just think that there's just some need to take action to it. So I thank Councillor Thompson. Thank you.
Okay, seconded by Councillor Gates. Okay, all those in favor? Okay, great. Thank you for that. Councillor Carrio.
Thank you, Your Worship. We like to sit around the table and profess to be pro-development in our community along with other levels of government. I have a group that I've been working with to bring a development to the city of Niagara Falls, and can't talk about it yet, but I was telling them how pro-development we are and all of our levels of government, how pro-development we are, and why they should bring their money to our community, to Canada, to our community to invest. And they're very savvy business people, and they were watching with great interest what was happening in the town of Fort Erie with the development of the NASCAR track. And all the time I'm telling them how pro-development we are, they're telling me, are you not watching what's happening to the $400 million proposed racetrack in Fort Erie, which is being held up by what they assume to be a frivolous complainant at OMB? And I'm not sure, even as we speak, whether or not the decision has been given on that development. You may or may not. I read in the paper that they were going to have a groundbreaking ceremony because they were assuming it was a frivolous development. But as I spoke with some other members of council and some other people at other levels of government, they said that we should do something, either whether we petition our fellow communities to do something to talk to the province and the feds to see if there's not something we can do collectively to help with that type of a thing, where someone could put up a $100 deposit and actually have no skin in the game. We could have a group that's prepared to invest $400 million in a community in Fort Erie, provide 1,000 jobs, and they're supposed to wait while all of these things happen, which in the end are being told to us that are frivolous. And in the end, there can be nothing done to the person who tries to stop the development. for whatever reason. And I'm assuming that it's not even someone from Fort Erie who's got this complaint going forward. So, the other people that I've talked to said that we should start with our council, see if we could get other councils, whether it's with a resolution or whatever, to petition the province for some type of reform, or at least a look at how those things are done, so that we really can be as pro-development as we profess. So I did speak with the clerk. He had some ideas that he might be able to share on how we could maybe move this idea forward.
Mr. Clerk?
Yeah, through the chair. Yeah, I mean, I think the best thing for us to do is staff, I know myself and Mr. Beeman have some conversations on this. We'll draft a resolution that we think is appropriate to get you to approve as council, and then we'll circulate it to other municipalities in the province so that there could be some OMB reform on this. I think what you're talking about is obviously where you have a frivolous complainant that just seems to be delaying the process, whether they should be assessed costs, which has happened on occasion, or some sort of limitation, or they should have to reveal who they represent, because a lot of times there's some sort of possible organization related to these appeals that may only actually be an organization of 2 or 3 people. So we'll try to draft something appropriate. We know where you're coming from on the issue.
So do you want to make that into a motion, Councillor? Okay, moved by Councillor Carrier and seconded by Councillor Gates, that we have the clerk put together and wordsmith a powerful resolution to be circulated through the province and other municipalities to gather support. That's a great point, and it's absolutely frustrating, like you say, Councillor, that someone with no risk comes in and can hold up a project for several years with no repercussion when it turns out it's frivolous.
Well, and the other thing is, Your Worship, that you happen to have a developer in Fort Erie that is totally committed to the project, because what some of these groups hope will happen is that they'll get tired and just leave. And it happens a lot, where they just get tired, they say, to heck with it, the people with the money can take their money and invest it anywhere in the world. So these groups play on that as well and drag it out as long as they can, even if they have no good argument. They drag it out through technicalities. And in the end, some of the developers go away, and we lose.
Yeah.
The community loses.
They know how to work the system. Okay, well, but yes, Councillor Wing.
I think I'm going to declare a conflict on this. I shouldn't be doing anything to petition the OMB for anything when I have an appeal before it myself, so I'm going to sit this out.
Okay. Noted. So we will call the vote. All those in favor? Okay. Is there any other new business? Yeah. Well, you know what? We're going to take a break for about 35 minutes. 35 minutes. We're going to get started here again at 7:30. We'll resume for the public meeting. No, it says right in the agenda 7:30. If it was the other clerk, it probably wouldn't have said that, but All right. So we'll come back here at 7:30. All right, you ready? Okay. Okay, welcome back to tonight's council meeting. After a short recess, we're now going to get started on the planning items, and I would now ask our clerk. First item we're going to deal with is AM 2013-004, bylaw amendment application on Stanley Avenue. This is for Mount Carmel, and I would ask the clerk to please introduce this item for us.
Your worship, a public meeting is now being convened to consider a proposed amendment to the city zoning bylaw to permit a proposed vineyard, winery, and retail store at 7021 Stanley Avenue, as mentioned, Mount Carmel. Notice was given by first-class mail in accordance with the Planning Act on Friday, March 22nd, 2013, and by posting a sign on the property in question. Anyone who wants notice of the passage of the zoning bylaw amendment to participate in any site plan process, if applicable, or preserve their opportunity to appeal to the Ontario Municipal Board shall leave their name on the sign-in sheets outside the council chamber.
Thank you, Mr. Arfita. Now I ask Mr. Bollebrook if you could please explain the purpose and the reason for the proposed bylaw amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd be glad to go through the entire presentation, but I don't see anybody here that's affected by the application other than the applicants. So, but I'll move quickly through it if I can. This is just a picture. This is just the location map. But I want to go through a little bit of the background in order to give members of council a little bit of information on the proposed rezoning. We're dealing with a amendment that's going to just recognize the vineyard, winery, and retail store. So in essence, it's going to retain the institutional zone it has today. The stemming of the uses, we have the vineyard of 5 acres around the property. That is a stipulation in order to get the retail store by the province. And we're going to have the winery area will have a maximum floor area of 2,000 square feet, and the retail wine outlet a maximum floor area of 1,000 square feet. The operation will occur in the north end of the monastery building. It'll be in partnership with Reef Winery in Niagara-on-the-Lake. There will be no wind machines, bird bangers, or extensive spraying on the site. The harvesting of the grapes will occur over a 3-hour period by machine once a year. So basically, they've taken the initiative to minimize any impacts on the surrounding lands. We did have an open house on March 21st, and there was 1 resident in attendance who had no objections. The area of the winery will be located here, along with the retail store. The winery will be the fermenting will be in the basement, and the retail store in the main level. And the 5 acres of land that will be planted in vineyard will be in this area here. So as far as the official plan is concerned, it complies with the official plan. The lands are designated tourist commercial. We don't think the scale is going to impact the nearby residents along Stanley Avenue. And we think it's going to be a unique tourist attraction. I think that'll come from the proponents as well. It's going to only enhance the tourist subdistrict. As I mentioned, it's currently zoned institutional. The main use will continue to be the institutional use. We will rezone it for site-specific to deal with the vineyard, the winery, and the retail store. So quickly moving into conclusion, we're very supportive of the proposal. We've mentioned about the compliance with the official plan, the scale of the operation, the unique tourist attraction, and the main use will continue to be the religious institution. So staff is recommending approval of the zoning tonight.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bollebrook. Are there any questions for Mr. Bollebrook of council? Okay, seeing now, and is there anyone else here to speak to this matter? Okay, seeing none, the public meeting with respect to the zoning bylaw amendment is now concluded. Councillor Carrio.
Thank you, Worship. I'd like to make the recommendation as put forward by our staff.
Okay. Pardon me? Oh, well, unless there was anything more to add.
Oh, sorry, Ed.
Yeah, you know what, why don't we real quickly, I'm sorry. Mr.
I think-
Lustig,
Thanks, I get the message. But I do want to thank staff for their support and the work that they've done in this report. So I'd like that to be noted. And as well, just one point that I want to add to the excellent report that's been submitted, and that is that from the Mount Carmel Monastery point of view, and they're over 130 years on this property, having a modest revenue stream that this is going to provide is quite important in order to maintain this site as it is, as a refuge, as a place where people go for spiritual reasons. And so that's another aspect, not just the tourist attraction, that I know Father Stan and Father Joe in Chicago and Roberto think is very important. But having said that, we appreciate the report and we thank you for your support of the application, and we look forward to you hopefully approving it. Thank you.
we appreciate your complete application and your brevity to the topic, so thank you for that. So once again, we have the motion moved by Councillor Carrier, seconded by Councillor Thompson. Is there any discussion? Pardon me? You want me to reclose it again? Okay, once again, as per the clerk's instructions, the public meeting with respect to the proposed zoning bylaw amendment is now concluded. I accept the motion from Councillor Carrier, seconded by Councillor Thompson. Is there any discussion to the motion of council? Seeing none, we'll call a vote. All those in favor? And it's unanimous. Congratulations, gentlemen. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Amen.
That's what I was talking about, pro-development, when I called.
Yes.
Oh, pro-development. He was great.
Oh, yeah. I don't need to grow wine, they're just gonna turn water into wine.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, next item up is PBD 2013-32. I would ask the city clerk to please introduce the next agenda item.
Your worship, a public meeting is now being convened to consider a proposed amendment to the city's zoning bylaw to permit the conversion of an existing dwelling into a 4-unit apartment building at 5459 Ontario Avenue. Notice was given by first-class mail in accordance with the Planning Act on Friday, March 22nd, 2013, and by posting a sign on the property in question. Anyone who wants notice of the passage of the zoning bylaw amendment to participate in any site plan process, if applicable, or preserve their opportunity to appeal to the Ontario Municipal Board shall leave their name on the sign-in sheets outside the council chamber.
Thank you, Mr. Arafita. I'll ask Mr. Bollebrook if you'd explain the purpose and the reason for the proposed bylaw amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Like the previous public meeting, I'll go through this fairly brief. We have the applicants as well as the applicant's architect in the site. There are no other people here for this evening's public meeting. You can see the subject property outlined in orange. We have the legacy, the big legacy trail along the, I guess that would be the westerly portion. Just to give you an idea, there's an existing 6-unit apartment building just to the south. The land uses around there are real mixed residential in nature. We've got some single detached, we've got some bed and breakfasts, we've got some additional multi-unit structures in the area. As far as background, very quickly, it contains an older, larger dwelling unit. It was previously used as a rooming house, and our history indicates that it was even previously used as a nursing home back in, I believe, in the 30s and 40s. The amendment request is to convert the existing home into a 4-unit apartment building. The lands are currently zoned an R2-2 residential, and the request is for a residential apartment 5B density or R5B. We will recognize the shortcomings of the property that's already developed as far as the lot frontage and the lot depth and side yards, just to acknowledge and recognize the existing home on the property. And that will be recognized in the zoning amendment. Because the traditional R5B density zone is generally a larger property. We held the public or neighborhood open house on March the 20th. There were 3 neighbors in attendance. There were some general comments made about the past use of the property and how the home seemed to be cleaned up, and the previous owner had a fair bit of garbage on the property, and the property was now being taken care of by the current property owners who bought the property just less than a year ago. And we believe with the transfer to an apartment, there will be less people there in that dwelling than there would be under the rooming house previous use. This gives you a site plan of the property. The parking spots are at the back of the property. The proposal is to add a fifth parking stall. Currently, there's enough space there for 4. So these reductions in front yard and side yard will be, as I said, recognized in the zoning amendment. So as far as the planning analysis, it conforms with the provincial policy. It conforms with the official plan, which designates the land as residential. The official plan provides for a variety of dwelling types, and as far as the density is concerned, it complies with the official plan density for this area. As you can see, the density is 69 units per hectare, which is what the 4-unit apartment would provide for. We note here that it's close to the commercial district, and those are the kinds of things that are generally well suited for a small apartment. Moving along, the actual zoning amendment will recognize the building, as I said. It will allow the 4-unit apartment and acknowledge all the regulations under the R5E. In conclusion, we state that the proposal conforms with the official plan. The existing dwelling is compatible with the dwellings in the area as far as the scale and height and massing of the current residential building. Conversion of the dwelling into an apartment is in keeping with the housing mix we feel is desirable in that area. Site of the building will, as it exists today, will rent the existing or the additional 1 parking spot. And the rezoning, we think, is an improvement from what has been used in the property in the past. So the recommendation is for council to approve the zoning amendment to the 4-unit apartment.
Thanks. Thanks for that, Mr. Boulderbrook. Are there any questions of Mr. Boulderbrook? Okay, seeing none. Members of the public are advised that failure to make an oral or written submission at this public meeting will result in the Ontario Municipal Board dismissing any referral that it receives. Failure to sign the sign-in sheet will result in staff rejecting an appeal as per Section 3419 of the Planning Act. Council will now hear from anyone other than the applicant who wishes to speak to the proposed bylaw amendment. Is there anyone here other than the applicant? Okay. Council will now hear from the applicant or his or her representative. If you'd like to come up to the podium, if you could please state your name.
My name is Osama Abu Nassar, and I'm an architect and representing my client today here.
Okay, welcome.
Don't know. The existing building is a single dwelling unit, and it's large enough to fit comfortably 4 units in it. And with respect of the parking, also we have enough room for to meet the city bylaw with respect to the parkings. Also, we meet the landscaped area. So we hope that it will be approved today.
Okay, that
and
sounds
we thank
good.
everybody also in the city staff for their work and follow-up. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Are there any questions of council? Yes, Councilor Morocco.
I'll make a motion to approve the recommendation.
Okay, I'll come to you in 1 second. Then we will, any questions? Yes, Councilor Gates?
Yeah, I got a question. I happened to go by there yesterday, and I did drive through the driveway around the back. Are you looking to make any improvements to that driveway going to the back?
Yes.
It was pretty rocky
Yes,
going up there.
the client is willing to do improvement for the driveway.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Okay, great. Well, if there are no other questions, public meeting with respect to the proposed zoning bylaw amendment is now concluded. Councillor Morocco, would you like to?
Recommend.
Okay. All right, got that. Thank you. And seconded by Councillor Thompson. Call the vote. All those in favor? Okay, and that's approved unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Okay, new business items. Councillor Morocco.
Yes, Your Worship. Just one last item to, if we could have a letter just congratulating Justin Trudeau on his successful leadership race for the Liberal Party, the Federal Liberal Party. If we could actually send him a letter congratulating him for his
Okay, we can do that. We could send that through the office of the mayor on behalf of council. Congratulating. That's a great idea.
Thank you.
Any other new business? Councillor Thompson. Huh? Fuddle duddle, that's motion for adjournment? What? Oh, wait. What, pardon me? Yeah, we have bylaws, I know. We're on. Don't worry, the clerk wasn't gonna let me get away without doing the bylaws. It's his second favorite part of the meeting. All right, I'm looking in the absence of Councillor Peter Angelo. Oh, Councillor Thompson and Iannoni. First reading of the bylaws. I know, this is odd. All those in favor? Okay.
Bylaws 2013-64 to 2013-71.
He's
Read
in
a first
room.
time.
Yeah, that's right. And, yeah, recorded vote, yeah. And a second and third reading, Councillor Thompson, second by Councillor Iannoni. All those in favor? Okay.
Bylaws 2013-64 to 2013-71. Read a second and third time and passed.
Motion for adjournment, Councillor